Hello, brothers and sisters. You know better than anyone the problems confronting the coal industry over the last several years. Issues that have only become worse during the coronavirus pandemic. Coal-fired power plants continue to close at an alarming rate, and electricity demand remains low. That's caused reductions in coal production throughout the United States and has hit Appalachia especially hard. 6 weeks ago, Contura Energy announced that because of the declining coal market, it was getting out of the thermal coal business. Contura said it was putting the Cumberland mine up for sale, and if it could find no buyer, it would close it at the end of 2022. We are suffering through the worst depression in the coal industry that we have seen in decades. It was in this environment that we sat down to negotiate a successor agreement with the company. These were not easy negotiations, especially with respect to the Cumberland mine. Let's face it, the company wants out of that mine, and they want to make it attractive to a potential buyer. So they came to the table with a list of cuts up and down the contract. I'm here to report to you that despite the company's demands, we were able to reach a tentative agreement with Contura that has no cuts in wages and benefits. I will go through the proposed contract for you and explain the changes from the existing agreement. First of all, I want to repeat that there will be no cuts to your pay despite the company's demands. Wages will remain the same for the life of the 5-year agreement. I think it is important to remember that Contura has cut pay and benefits at several non-union operations and in corporate level positions, including 401k contributions and healthcare plans, according to recent press releases. Secondly, the 2016 agreement secures all jobs on specified coal lands that contain over 400 million tons of coal adjacent to the Cumberland mine, which would provide for an additional 50 years of mining. But no one can tell you that there will even be a coal industry 50 years from now, much less in 40 or even 30 years. That coal is just going to sit there, and you will not get anything out of it. So we have negotiated language that will still secure all jobs on over 116 million tons of reserves, which would provide jobs for the next 20 years. That leaves a block of about 367 million tons that the company intends to put on the market. If it sells, the bargaining unit will be compensated at 10% of the initial sale price, or $3.6 million, whichever is greater. The amount is to be split evenly among those employees who were in the bargaining unit at the time of the vote on this tentative agreement. Let me be clear about that. The only people who will ever be eligible to receive this payment are the current bargaining unit employees, which means someone has to be an active employee, currently on the layoff panel from Cumberland Mine, or on some form of temporary total disability, such as workers' compensation or sickness and accident pursuant to Article 11. I want to give a couple examples to help explain how this will work. Let's assume someone is currently working at the mine at the time of the ratification vote, but he decides to retire 6 months after the ratification. That employee will receive a full share at the time of the sale. Next, let's assume someone gets hired as a new miner 6 months after the ratification vote, but is working at the time of the sale. That employee would not be entitled to a share. Finally, let's assume someone was laid off from the Cumberland mine 3 months before the ratification vote and opted to be placed on the panel to return to the mine. That employee would be entitled to a full share. The reason we have proposed that it work this way is I believe the people making the decision should be the ones who are entitled to a share of the proceeds of the sale. Next, using contractors to perform classified work has always been a sore spot for UMWA miners, and rightfully so. So we have strengthened the contracting out language to specify that contractors may no longer be utilized during longwall moves or regular vacation. There are no changes to your health benefits, sick days, vision care, dental care, accidental death or dismemberment, or life insurance. There are no changes to holidays, triple time for working on holidays, holiday pay, or Memorial Days. Regarding vacations, you will get 12 days a year. Starting in 2021, the employer will have the option for 3 separate one-week shutdown periods: the week of the 4th of July, week of Thanksgiving, and the week of Christmas may be used instead of the regular shutdown vacation schedule. However, if the employer chooses the 3 holiday shutdown periods, you will be compensated for 5 days each week plus any regular scheduled overtime. There are no changes to your graduated vacation days. You keep them all. There is a change to the attendance control policy that will bring it in line with the rest of the industry. There will be 3 unexcused days in a 180-day period, or 2 days in a 30-day period. The language regarding irregular workers under the program stays the same. It is my understanding that there was a dispute at the mine regarding the meaning of the 12 additional occurrences for safety committee persons to inspect the mine. In order to resolve this issue, we were able to increase the frequency of company-paid safety runs for the safety committee from bi-monthly to monthly, which should be quite beneficial should management begin to cut corners to save cash. The requirement for a roof bolter helper will be eliminated, except when the company and the local union would agree and determine conditions warrant a helper. That's about it as far as changes to the Cumberland Agreement. In this depressed coal market, in the middle of a pandemic that is making things even worse for our industry, and negotiating with a company that intends to sell the mine and wanted to make cuts to wages, holidays, 401k contributions, and more, we were able to instead preserve your wages, your benefits, your time off from work, and a guarantee of jobs for 20 years at this mine, assuming it operates for that long. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate your attention to this explanation video. Under normal circumstances, I would be explaining this proposed agreement to you in person. Believe me, there is nothing I would rather do more than have the opportunity to see and talk with all of you face to face. But we just cannot do that under the current restrictions state governments have put in place to control the coronavirus pandemic. We want to make sure all your questions are answered and that you have the opportunity to understand what is in this proposed agreement. We have posted a side-by-side spreadsheet on the UMWA website, umwa.org, that explains the changes in the agreement. If you have any questions, you can call the union at 703-291-2400 and let the individual who answers know that you have a question about the proposed Cumberland Agreement, or send an email to 2020, that's the numbers 2020 contract questions at umwa.org. The ratification vote for this proposed agreement will take place on Friday, August 14th. Please contact your local union officers for the exact times and places for you to cast your vote. I believe we have negotiated an agreement that deserves to be ratified, and I urge you to vote in favor of it. But in the end, this is your decision, and we will always abide by the membership's vote. Thanks again for watching, and please keep yourselves and your families safe in this very troubling time. May God bless you and your family.